we're doing a blind review of Boys of Tommen. I'm not ready. Boys of Tommen by Chloe Walsh is a YA slash contemporary romance. Even though it says YA, honestly, it's more mature language. Go into it with caution. This is going to be a spoiler review. I only saw other people talk about how much they loved the book, and then I decided to dive headfirst into it without warning. I just went into it thinking I'm reading a romance. Boys of Tommen threw me for a whole loop. Let's get into it. We have two major characters that we're following. We're following Shannon Lynch and John Kavanaugh. This is how I realized I was in trouble. She's gone through a lot of bullying, and that's a very wild thing to start off with. Yeah, we quickly realized that she's had a lot of trauma in her life that has influenced a lot of her decisions. The way she sees herself has been influenced by this bullying. So we start off really heavy. They give us a little bit of background into Shannon. I don't really picture characters fully. Characters exist in my mind almost like a feeling rather than a like fully fleshed out character or person. So I don't necessarily care really, even if you describe somebody, because I'm not going to think of them in that way. One thing I know is I think she has dark hair and she also has really, really blue eyes. Those blue eyes I cannot forget because we keep getting fed that throughout the book. We see Shannon at home. She's preparing to go to a new school because she's been excessively bullied in her former school. And then it took a lot for her parents to move her from, for her mom specifically, to move her from her old school to this new school. We start off with Shannon preparing for her first day, and that is summer. And we see a touching, heartwarming conversation between herself and her brother Joey. And we realize that Joey is basically her protector. Joy was the one who stepped in when Shannon was being bullied at her old school. They went to the same school together. She got suspended for that. Seeing as the bullying is affecting multiple family members now, they decided to move her to Tommen. So Shannon starts off going to Tommen. We can tell she has a lot of anxiety, especially because, and understandably so, she had a lot of anxiety starting a new school. And for someone who's been bullied majority of her life, she's scared and worried that the bullying will start again in this school, right? So she's a ball of nerves. Sorry, there's going to be a lot of world building, and I'm going to try and do that quickly. She used to have two friends, Claire and Lizzie, who she met in primary school, but then they ended up leaving to go to Tommen while she went to, I believe the school she went to was called BCS or Bali Lagging. Bali Lagging Community School. Guys, just ignore this ignore this pronunciation. I just also want to say, if you're Irish in the comments, I beg you, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I ask for your forgiveness in advance. So Shannon used to go to Ballylagging. And while she was there, she had two friends who went to Tommen instead. So on one hand, cannot overemphasize how short she's a little fairy angel. She's a little minion. Shannon is short, underdeveloped. The first thing she notices is nobody is sending her. Nobody is even looking at her. Nobody is paying attention to her. And for her, that is awesome news because she had too much unwanted attention in Ballylagging. So she's very excited to be able to go to a new school and basically fade into the world. That is what she has always wanted in a school, and she gets that. She ends up meeting Claire and Lizzie. It's a wonderful reunion. They're amazing. Again, the book describes the two of them. All I know is that they are tall and gorgeous. They have curves, everything a girl should have. Remember, this is juxtaposed against Shannon, who is quote unquote underdeveloped. I'm not saying that. Those are not my words. The book says she's borderline underdeveloped and short, right? So classes start off amazingly. She's not having time of her life because she still has some anxiety, but she's good. She's doing well. She's fine. She's even already starting to come out of her shell with Lizzie and Claire, which is amazing. And then she forgets her stuff. So she has class, she's going for her next class, but then she realizes that she forgot her stuff in the previous class. So she tells her friends to go ahead. She'll go back and grab her stuff. Her friends keep going. They ask her, "Oh, are you sure you don't want us to come with you?" She says, "You know what? I don't want you guys to miss too much of school or class. Let me go back. I'll meet you guys in class." And honestly, knowing what we already know about her being bullied, I honestly was like, why? let him come with you. Why would you choose to go alone? I wouldn't want to go alone, especially in a new school. Maybe I'm just a follower. She decided to go by herself. I already, you know, when you can already tell that this cannot end well. You can already tell this will not end well. So she goes by herself, grabs her stuff. They also make it a point to mention that she's shocked that her things are still intact. Body lagging is clearly the jungle because she clearly wasn't expecting to see her stuff. So now we're going to take a pause from Shannon's POV and go into Johnny's POV. Johnny is hungry and he's tired. They've been on the pitch for a long time. He's literally crashing out. And you're wondering, that's not enough for someone to crash out. Maybe for you guys, I feel like when I'm hungry, I crash out as well. I wasn't shocked that he was crashing out because he was hungry, but there's a little bit more to the story. He's on the pitch with his teammates and the full rugby team. Johnny is a very good rugby player and he's the captain of the team. He also is very invested in the team's performance and the team's play, which is normal for a captain. He's looking at all his team members, reading them for filth in his mind. He's looking at them like, y'all are unserious, useless, unprepared. They have a game coming up and Johnny is reading them for filth in his mind. He cannot stand how unprepared they are. So we find out that not only is Johnny a captain and very good at rugby in his school in Tommen, apparently he also plays for the club. And then he's also part of something called the Academy, which is for basically superstar rugby players. Just think gym bro on steroids. I guess some gym bros are already on steroids. Johnny is a gym bro on steroids. He has very regimented meals. He has very regimented training and discipline. He is gone ho for rugby. He does not play. The reason he's upset and crashing out so badly is because he has intermittent meals and he hasn't had one or two recently. To let go of all that pent up anger and tension, he just kicks the rugby ball into the distance, right? And then just, wants to continue his crash out in peace, like a more chilled crash out because he doesn't want to get in trouble. We cut to Shannon's POV again. Shannon is going, remember we left Shannon while she was going back to class, right? Shannon is going back to class, but because she spent so much time going back to get her stuff, she doesn't want to be late for one of her classes. She sees this massive field and decides that, you know what, it'll be quicker for me to just zip through. Let me just zip through this this field real quick, so I can get back to class on time. And we have Johnny kicking this rugby ball in anger and valid crash out. And of course, Shannon happens to be crossing the pitch at the same time. There is a collision. The rugby ball hits our dear Shannon in the head. She falls. They don't even immediately realize until they turn and see that she's falling. So of course, everyone is wondering, what have you done, Johnny? So Johnny runs, gets to Shannon. He picks her up. Tell me why her clothes are ripped. Shannon is free balling life. I just feel so terrible for this girl because she cannot catch a freaking break. Today is she's not even done. It's not even halfway through the school day. Why is Shannon already exposed? So Johnny picks her up and then removes his disgusting jersey, his nasty, sweaty. I mean, they don't really have a choice now, do they? But he removed his disgusting jersey that is stained, puts it over her. And again, remember, guys, you can't forget, Shannon is short. She's a minion. Every time we start to forget that Shannon is short, they remind us Shannon is short, right? So, and Johnny is 6'3". Shannon is about 5 feet on the dot. So he wears, he puts his jersey over her head. It falls past her knee because, again, she's a minion. He takes her to their nurse, the resident school nurse or something, and the lady's on maternity leave. And I'm wondering, okay, there's no one else. You mean to tell me in this big private school there is not one healthcare professional? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Anyway, so he takes this girl to to their principal. As he's running, he keeps thinking about how much he has on the line. Johnny does not play about his rugby, and this is something that we keep getting fed throughout the book. Because he doesn't play about his rugby, he's worried about how this will reflect on his image. He's worried about people like carrying stories about him assaulting somebody. So he takes Shannon to the principal. Principal says, you know what? Hold on to that girl. Hold on to her. Let me call her parents. Johnny is staying with Shannon. He is very worried about her, very worried that he has caused like permanent damage, which I mean, you should, because what kind of anger got the ball to hit her that hard? Like Shannon is literally teetering between consciousness and unconsciousness. The girl is not okay. So he keeps, trying to speak to her to make sure that she doesn't succumb to unconsciousness. And this leads us a very weird interaction between Johnny and Shannon, because he's trying to keep her awake and alert. He keeps asking her the weirdest random things. Anyway, he finds out that her name is Shannon. So she says her name is Shannon like the river. Again, I'm not Irish. I don't know. I'm sure there's a river called Shannon, but that's how she introduces herself. And honestly, I didn't see the relevance throughout the book. Shannon like a river or like the river it didn't even make any sense. I didn't understand. They didn't put it into context eventually. I thought it was going to mean something, it didn't. Shannon has a weird thing about promises. Remember that Shannon was being very aggressively bullied in her former school in Ballylagging. So she's wondering if bullying has caught up to her again in Tommen. She keeps asking Johnny, did you mean to hit me in the head? Because she's wondering, am I being bullied again? He assures her that it was a mistake. He didn't mean to. And then she says, do you promise? He says, I promise. I'm like, okay, okay. At some point, she says, look at me, I'm ruined. And he says, you're ruining all of me right now. My guy, you just met her. You met her 2 seconds ago. What do you at this point? I believe our main conflict of the book is of like the romance is introduced. She's 15, he's 17, and then he says she's supposedly too young. I At some point I had to check again. Did they say 17 or did they say 17? Because why is he saying it's illegal? You're both minors. We're in Johnny's head, so he keeps bringing to himself his life is too regimented. He's focused on his goal. He's very disciplined. He doesn't have time for other girls. And then this brings up that whole conversation and discourse around having children who are really, really good at something and are pursuing something from a very young age, and how their childhood is basically robbed because they don't have time to be like other children their age and play outside. And I think we see this throughout the book. He has a very obsessive personality, so he is all in, and when he's all in, he's all in. He has a very specific plan for his life concerning rugby, and his life literally centers around rugby. Everything he does is to that end. So he doesn't like to mess around with anything that will even take him off course at all. And it's looking like Shannon is going to take this guy off course, and he's not having it. He's like, nope, your eyes might be blue. Nah, you're not going to get me. Nah, keep that blue away from me. That's what Johnny is basically saying. The principal ends up calling Shannon's mom. Her mom comes in already worried, like, I brought this girl to this school so she could not be bullied anymore. And why within the first couple of hours is she already being bullied? They have to assure her, like they try to reassure her that, hey, this was a mistake. She's having none of it. Tells the school to keep Johnny away from Shannon and make sure that there's no interaction going forward. If not, she was going to pursue it and report to the police. Johnny does not want anything to put him in trouble. He tries to back off, tries being the operative word. She ends up, having a mild concussion and spends a week outside of school. All this while, Johnny is running out of his mind because he's wondering, have I killed this babe? Because why is she not back in school? So she takes 1 week off, and then comes back to school. Johnny gets back to the locker room where his teammates are all freshening up after the game. And considering that Shannon was exposed to the whole team, he made a promise to Shannon that he would protect her and nobody was going to laugh at her, right? So he goes back to basically threaten them to say, guys, you see that girl that just fell and exposed herself? I want to hear nothing about it. Gypsy, Huey, and Patrick are Johnny's closest friends in school, and they're also his rugby teammates. Honestly, guys, Gypsy is a vibe. I have not laughed as much as I laugh every time Gypsy comes on paper. You're going to have to trust me on this because I can't relay how funny Gypsy is to you, but Gypsy is so funny, and he was my best character in this whole book. Johnny starts to find out from Gypsy if people are talking about Shannon and how exposed she was and everything. I mean, teenage boys, right? Gypsy is like, bro, how can you not talk about it? Like, the guys were talking about it. So Johnny takes that time to go and threaten his teammate. Guys, I must not hear a word about this at all. Like, nobody should talk about it. Don't say anything about it. It is silence on your end. This character called Ronan. Ronan is like, you're not going to tell me what to do. I can say what I want to say. Who's going to stop me? Johnny is like, me, I will check you, and I will check you right now. Ronan says some very disrespectful things about Shannon. Johnny says, hey, 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 watch your mouth. Johnny takes him by the neck and kind of chokes him out. What? That escalated quickly. The book makes it a point to say Johnny holds him by his throat and squeezes, but not enough to cut off his circulation. Isn't this assault? I guess not enough to cut off his circulation, meaning, let's not get into it. It was just like it's like neck choke. What is going on? Of course, at this point, Ronan like calms down. We learned that Ronan is Coach's nephew, and that's why he's even on the team. Actually, he doesn't have that much talent. This is why Johnny is even so upset. Like, first of all, you shouldn't even be here, and now you're saying really disrespectful things about women. It's something that we don't do. But again, that does not, like, why is Johnny squeezing this guy's neck? That's scary. Because of the game they just finished playing, Johnny is in a lot of pain. So we find out that being a rugby player, he's had multiple injuries, multiple rugby related injuries, right? But now he's currently dealing with a very, very serious groin injury. Over the holidays, he went to get it taken care of, meaning he had surgery. His stitches are not healing. Johnny is in constant pain every day, and he's playing with that pain. And he refuses to tell anyone because, let's say together, Johnny is obsessed with rugby. Anything that gets in the way of him being able to play, he's not having it. It doesn't matter if a long-term injury will actually take him out completely of rugby, he doesn't care. This doesn't even make sense. I'm not the author, don't blame me. When Shannon's mom came to take Shannon to the hospital, there's a phrase that Shannon's mom used that made Johnny know there could have been like some bullying in Shannon's like past, or something that Shannon had to get through. And because this is his lovely little baby girl that he literally just met 2 minutes ago, and she means too much to him already, he just wants to know what happened to her, right? Johnny tries to find out things about Shannon that must have happened in her previous school. He asked Gibbsy to go through to get her file from the admin. Don't ask me how Gibbsy was able to do this, because that is something I don't want to go into. Gibbsy gets Shannon's file, gives it to Johnny, and he reads file. That is the ultimate invasion of privacy, if you ask me. Why are you reading my file? Why are you reading things about me? What if I don't want you? Actually, if you want to know, ask me. Anyway, Johnny annoyingly finds out that, she has been bullied. She had her hair cut off by some really, really mean girls. Some of the girls, actually like physically assaulted her at some point. It's very heavy, very quickly. Johnny takes it upon himself to be her protector, even though he just invaded her privacy. And no, decides to stick to the promise he gave her that, nobody was going to laugh at her. Thankfully, Shannon is not dead because she comes back to school after a week. Shannon is very confused, actually. She's like, wait, I had this really weird, like, crazy thing happen to me. I was basically exposed in front of raging teenagers, especially rugby athletes. Why is nobody talking about what happened? So she literally comes into school all anxious and everything, just like head bent, like head buried, expecting the worst, expecting people to start laughing at her as she's used to. And then there's literally no reaction from anybody. She just keeps going. Even I don't even know if her friends knew that she had a concussion, but she eventually tells them what happened to her. So nobody is talking about this, and she's low-key suspicious. We also learned that while she was low-key semi-conscious and not conscious, and she was having that weird interaction with Johnny was really sweet, very caring. He took care of her, stayed with her. She's not used to that, and we can tell. So she finds herself thinking about Johnny. He knocked you out, but Shannon doesn't care. In the hallway, they're having this weird like interaction. You can tell they're both feeling things while she was away, right? Remember Johnny had ruined her school uniform, and I don't think I mentioned this. Shannon comes from a very poor family. They're not very well to do, and she has 5 siblings. She has 5 brothers. She's the only girl. She's the third of 6 children. Remember, Johnny ruined the bottom half of Shannon's uniform, and Shannon does not come from money. Her mom has had to take extra shifts to be able to afford her tuition. So she literally cannot afford to have her uniform be ruined. Thankfully, Johnny is good for that. Johnny ends up putting some money into her locker. She's able to afford a new uniform. Doesn't know if to say thank you or not, because on one hand, he knocked you out. So yeah, rightfully, he should be giving you some money for it. But on the other hand, he didn't have to. So she's conflicted. Find out that her oldest brother has left the house and left almost like 5 years ago at this point. But but her immediate older brother Joey is her rock in the house, like her friend. They have a very, very lovely relationship. We also find out that her mom is basically the breadwinner of the family. Her mom is the one sustaining this eight-person household, which I can't even imagine the strain on the woman. It's a lot. Her dad is an alcoholic. And he has good days and bad days, but his bad days always end up reflecting badly on Shannon and Joey. He ends up being really mean to them, borderline abusive. That's another reason why I'm saying I really wasn't prepared for this book. If you're going into this book, there are very, very strong things that you have to be aware of. You need to go and read the trigger warnings, because there's a lot of really serious things that happen in this book. So Shannon and Claire. Claire is Huey's little sister. So Shannon and Claire and Lizzie are, a friend group, while Gibbsy, Huey, Philly, and Johnny are another friend group. Because of Shannon's family life and how tumultuous it is, Shannon does not believe in love, because if love is what her parents have, she doesn't want any of it. It's very tough, very toxic, very turbulent, not very exciting at home. Bali Lagin. She's loving life at Tommen. And I'm so happy. Like, guys, the way the book makes you so invested in Shannon's anxiety, her worries about going to school is so real. Chloe does a very good job of portraying like a person who has been through a lot and how that trauma affects their everyday life. And it's so real. So us finding out that she loves Tommen makes me so excited for her. Saturdays are apparently Shannon's best days, because there are some sports things that happen on Saturdays that her dad is very invested in. So that makes him take the other brothers out on Saturday. So mostly she's alone on Saturdays. She's not walking on eggshells, wondering when the next trouble is going to come. Not only is she very happy this Saturday, Claire has also invited her to come over for like a girls like chit chat. Goes over to Claire's house, and they're having a very lovely and beautiful girl day. While they're there, Gipsy comes. Gipsy is really a riot. Like, he cracks me up. I honestly cannot remember the last book I read where I was laughing this hard. Gipsy is a riot. I love him so, so much. And we can tell from the interaction between Gipsy and Claire that they're feeling themselves. There's something going on there, but I guess we don't get to explore that in this book. Nothing happens. The only thing we see is that she clearly is like a an animal whisperer. Like, obviously they try to tell us and show us how. Anyway, all the lads go out, and when I say the lads, I mean the usual suspects: Gipsy, Johnny, Huey, and Philly. Johnny is hyper focused on every relationship he has and how to protect himself from future problems, like being tied down or anything that reflects negatively on him. So he likes to deal with older girls because they all have their own lives that they're focused on, and they're not hanging on to him. He likes the fact that he can deep without commitment and everything. So he used to mess with Bella before his surgery, but obviously ever since his surgery, they don't mess around again. Their relationship was one of convenience. They weren't like a standard relationship, and then Bella never liked him in that sense. She was more there for like this status. Guys, you have to know that this book keeps telling us Johnny is a superstar. National newspapers carry him. His taxi driver knows about him. People he sees walking on the road know about him. He's constantly stopped by paparazzi. Don't ask me why an upcoming 17-year-old in secondary school has that much publicity. I don't know. Let's proceed. Bella likes to attach herself to his superstardom. So she's in it for the status, not necessarily for the human. And this is something that Johnny really contends with, the dehumanization that comes with superstardom. Bella tried to break up with him because she didn't think it was going to be a big deal post surgery, but now that he's back playing and he's back to the academy, Bella wants to hitch on bike. She wants to hitch her wagon back on Johnny's ride, and Johnny is like, "Stay away, stay away from me." Anyway, the lads go out, and Who do we have here but good old Bella? Every single girl in this book is tall and curvaceous, except Shannon because Shannon is underdeveloped and short. Bella is there. Bella tries to come on to him a bunch of times and he's not having it. He ends up wanting to leave. As he tries to leave, Huey comes to him to say, none of us are fit to go home the way we are. Our moms will kick us out. So we need to come with you. John is like, why is this my business? You're our captain. We're basically your responsibility. Johnny says, true, 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 true. Get in the car. So they head on home to Johnny's house. Randomly, he was like, yeah, I've known Shannon since she was a child. What? No, you haven't. Huey mentions how he's known Shannon since she was a child, and it's very sad what her family life is like. He just drops this really cryptic sentence and then goes inside. Then Johnny lets it go. That is not consistent with the Johnny that we know. Johnny is obsessive, he's very determined. When he wants to find out something, he's going to find it out. So him letting like he will just slide is very out of character. The next time we see Shannon and Johnny together is when school is playing another school in rugby. Shannon goes to see the match and realizes this guy is very good. Not only is he good, he's the best. She sees what everyone is talking about. She's gone. She sees Johnny and she's like, ooh, loving it. Johnny keeps looking towards her as well. I'm like, Johnny, please focus. Don't lose don't lose this match for your team. Johnny is single-handedly responsible for winning them, that match. Claire goes to hug her brother Huey because he's on the team. Shannon, being awkward as heck, just walks inside of the pitch. Then she starts hearing someone call her name. She turns, it's Johnny. Johnny's like, hey, they have the most awkward interaction courtesy of, of Shannon. Shannon is an awkward babe. And honestly, I love it because as an awkward babe myself, I can relate. Like, if if you've ever had an awkward interaction, Shannon is our representative. She literally is the poster child for awkward interactions. She just like mumbles and stutters. She gives nothing in a conversation. While they're having this weird, awkward conversation, paparazzi sees them and then they rush over to them and try to interview Johnny. But while they're trying to interview Johnny, they're like, hey, this random babe, get out of the way. Johnny's like, no, I was having a conversation. She stayed. So he grabs her, holds on to her, has the interview, and then they ask him to pose for a so they ask him to pose for a picture. He poses for the picture with Shannon by his side. Johnny invites Shannon over for drinks, I think in Gibbs's house, but Shannon, knowing the kind of father she has at home, she's like, not today, bro. Like, I would like to get home unscathed. So she says no and then leaves. Unfortunately for Shannon, her boss ends up breaking down at some point. So she ends up spending 2 hours on the road. She gets home, her dad is pissed. Like, why is she coming home so late? But then she explains about the boss. And in rare form, he's fine with it. This is a different day now. She's getting ready for her boss. She goes to the bathroom to freshen up before she leaves. She comes out of the bathroom and bumps into Ronan. Ronan is the guy who was saying disrespectful things about her in the locker room. And Johnny literally she bumps into him and we realize he actually waited for her outside of the women's bathroom. Such a weird guy. He starts to say again really weird like things just out of nowhere. He grabbed her. Thankfully, Gibbsy sees them and then pulls Ronan off of her and pushes him out the way. To the way say coming in to save the day as usual. Johnny comes and finds out and is wondering what's going on. Gibbsy tells him what he found. Johnny starts counting down, giving him a head start to run so he could pursue him. Ronan is literally pleading for his life, starts running, and then Johnny spits after him. All of this obviously like freaks Shannon out, goes to cower in the bathroom. She spends time there. She realizes that she's been there so long, she's missed her boss. She's panicking. She tries to call Joey, her brother. He's not reachable. Her options were to either wait for the boss or try to get her brother to get her, but her brother is not reachable. So she tries to leave the bathroom to go wait in like a common area and bumps into someone else again, but this time it's Johnny. He comes back to check on her. He can tell that she's obviously, not fine. Thankfully, her brother calls back. Her brother cannot come get her because he has a shift. So Joey's girlfriend also cannot come get her because she's also busy. While she's doing all of this, Johnny is obviously eavesdropping. And I hate it. I'll take you. Shannon tells Joey, don't worry, I have a friend who will take me. Her brother is like, why do you have a friend old enough to drive a car? She's 15, he's 17. Why are they making this a thing? I'm so confused. So her brother is like, put me on the phone with the person. So Johnny takes the phone and he's like, yeah, Kavanaugh, Johnny, yep, that's me. Obviously, her brother like follows everybody in this town follows rugby, and not just rugby, like specifically Johnny, because Johnny is a star in town. And then he's like, okay, fine, I guess I trust you. You can take my little sister home. She follows Johnny to the car and then sees that Johnny drives an Audi. Yeah, Johnny's got money. So Johnny obviously ushers her into the car. And the car stinks. The exact word is stench. She smells the stench of teenage boy coming from his gear bag. That is nasty. That stench is crazy. And apparently Johnny is a nasty person because he has like so much junk in his car that he has to move all that junk to the back, and it takes him 3 tries to move all that junk from the front of the car to the back. Guys, I don't care how hot you are, I don't care how handsome you are, I don't care how much of a star you are. I'm not doing that. But I guess Shannon is. So she gets into the car with him. They end up talking for hours, like about everything. And then Shannon starts to slowly open up. Johnny finds out that Shannon understands him as an athlete because she has a brother who is a professional hurler as well. She understands the pressures of a sports career and how much determination and discipline is required to be successful in the sport. They end up bonding over that, and Johnny obviously is like, oh my god, she gets me. She's not like other girls. She understands me. All the while they're talking, remember that Johnny has an injury. All the while they're talking, Johnny is subconsciously kneading his thigh because he's in pain and he's always in pain. So she keeps looking at it like, this guy's a weirdo. Why is he doing this? Eventually, he catches himself doing it and then he's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm not being like weird or anything. He opens up about his injury. He doesn't tell anybody about this injury because it's rugby. If the opposing team knows he has this injury, they'll capitalize on it and probably they'll use it to their advantage. The only person who really, really knows is Gipsy. He ends up being able to open up about his injury to Shannon. And the more he talks about it, Shannon is like, hey, I don't think you should have gone back to playing a 3 weeks post op. That feels like it's too soon. I mean, like, yeah, that feels too soon to go back to playing. Are you sure you're not going to eventually like hurt yourself permanently? Johnny explodes. Like, this is a very sensitive subject for Johnny. And because he already has fears about this exact thing she's saying, so he ends up being extremely defensive, puts up a wall, like basically just blows up on her. And she also doesn't open up a lot to people. So she felt very slighted. Like she opened up to him and then he blows up and then withdraws into her shell. Shannon is wondering why she opened up to him. He got to bring her out of her shell. Ended up being weird. Anyway, Shannon gets home and her dad is livid. Livid. He starts to ask her if she's seen somebody, calls her very weird names that imply someone who's messing around with all kinds of guys, tells her that she's going to be like her mom. So we get some insight into this family dynamic that is very uncomfortable and very toxic. And then her dad, goes ahead to trigger warning. I'm about to say something. Her dad goes ahead to physically abuse her. Yeah, I cried a lot of times in scenes like this. This book made me cry because you feel everything she's feeling. It's very, very, Chloe Walsh does a very good job making you empathize with the character. And honestly, that part kind of triggered me. While her dad is doing all of this, Joey comes and saves her. And you can tell that this is a very constant dynamic. They all have the parts they play. So Joey knows his part. He comes in and tries to liven things up and save her. So she runs up to her bedroom. Joey keeps on having a back and forth with their dad. She goes into her room, plays her Walkman, plugs her ears, and just buries herself, wanting to not hear all those sounds and the fighting and just wanting peace. She goes to Joey's room just to check on him and see that he's fine. She finds out that her dad is livid because the picture she took with Johnny the day the team won their school match, the picture was published in a national newspaper. She doesn't know Johnny is a star, not just at school, but that he also plays at the club level and he's also part of the academy. Joey tells her, like, babe, Johnny's a big deal. Johnny is a star. He's too old for you and he's going to leave you because there's this under 20s team that Johnny is trying to join, and apparently he's going to be eligible at some point in the same year. So she shouldn't get her hopes up because Johnny's leaving soon. The next morning, while she's getting ready to leave for school, she sees her mom sitting on the dining table. Apparently, every time her dad abuses them, they have to come up with a cover story. And her mom wants to ensure that they're all on the same page and they don't end up saying anything to anyone. At some point when they were younger, their mom had put them in foster care, but they ended up being separated. Joey and Shannon were put together with the same family, while their older brother Robert was put with a different family. And unfortunately, he ended up being SA'd by that family, which led to multiple reconstructive surgeries. Their mom had to fight to win them back, and of course, during that fight, they ended up exposing a lot of the things that happened with Robert while he was with that family. This is why they don't report their dad, because they worry they will end up going back to foster care, and who knows what could happen in foster care. So Shannon doesn't tell anyone about what goes on in her family. Claire suspects, but Shannon quickly shuts it down and refuses to speak about it. So her mom is sitting there wanting to go over the story. We realize that her mom is like an enabler. Her mom enables their dad. Her mom loves her. Her mom is the one paying for Tommen, which is a private school, taking on extra work to pay for it. But in the same vein, her mom is saying, if you didn't take pictures with Johnny, your dad wouldn't have been so upset. Like basically victim blaming. So you have this complex feeling towards her mom because on one hand you know her mom loves her, but on the other hand you're not trying to save her from her dad who is doing all these vile things to her. Then remember her mom had told um the principal that Johnny should never come in contact with Shannon again. She's wondering why Shannon is pictured with Johnny all hugged up and everything in the newspaper. So she immediately wants to call the school. Shannon gets pissed. Shannon is like, why are you trying to save me from Johnny when the real bully is my dad, the person I live in this house with? That's the person you should be trying to save me from. It almost feels like because her mom can't save her from her dad, she becomes extremely overprotective about other people. And it's like, no, babe, fix the issues internally. So Shannon tells her mom, if you call the school to complain about why Johnny is speaking to me or whatever it is, I'm going to tell everyone everything. So her mom obviously she lets it go. Shannon goes to school. She sees Johnny and she goes to go and she goes to assure Johnny like, hey, my mom is not going to make issues for you anymore. Let me just let you know. Shannon also apologizes for that awkward interaction she had with Johnny the night before. Shannon, why are you doing this? How are you to blame? She tells herself she's not going to talk to Johnny anymore. She's going to avoid him. We all know that's not going to work. Bella comes to Johnny, um, begging him to come back. Johnny's just like, we never even had a relationship. What? What are you talking about? Johnny needs therapy. He needs therapy. He needs anger management classes. Something. Why does Johnny always resort to violence? Johnny's solution to any problem is violence. He looks at Bella and he's like, nope, stop that. Don't let me deal with you. And then Bella says, you know what? If you keep turning me down, I hope you're not turning me down for that underdeveloped girl. I have no choice but to turn on Shannon. He's like, don't you dare. Shannon is off limit. Bella is not listening to him. She's going to deal with her. And I'm like, gosh, please. Shannon has had enough. Please leave her out of this. Leave the girl alone. Another day, Bella is having really, really bad anxiety because she has a feeling that something bad is about to happen. Her dad has a pattern, right? And she can read that there's something brewing, and this makes her like very nauseous. She gets to her locker and then starts throwing up. Of course, Johnny comes in, sees her, picks her up, and takes her out. So Johnny offers to just get her home from school so she doesn't have to wait for the bus to come. So Johnny obviously is like so into this babe. He's really liking her, but trying not to. She's so young, so fragile. He has so many responsibilities, but he likes her and he cannot stop thinking about her. She occupies like all his time, even his training time when he's supposed to be focused, he's thinking about Shannon. Like, he cannot get himself to stop thinking about her and stop wanting to save her. So, what he ends up accepting is that he will save her, but he wouldn't like her. He wouldn't progress the relationship further. Sure. He takes her to her house. While she tries to leave the car, he's like, you know what, you want to go somewhere else? Shannon, who is so anxiety reading and doesn't even want to go home, is like, fine, like, let's go somewhere else. I'm giving Shannon too much personality. Shannon's personality is literally white bread. It's a blank piece of paper. I cannot tell you how this story progresses because I honestly can't. She gives him nothing. We understand her motivations, we understand her personality or lack thereof. Johnny doesn't know any of this. Why Johnny pursues this girl, I cannot tell you. Anyway, so he takes her out. They go to this bar that he typically goes to, and they end up seeing some people from her school. These are her bullies from Ballylagging, right? So we know these are her bullies from Ballylagging. And then obviously she withdraw again into herself. She is no longer as responsive as she was. So Johnny knows something is going on. Having read her file, he puts two and two together and then goes straight to, yep, those are her bullies. If this is the point and this is the conclusion, Johnny literally hops on over to the conclusion and says, yep, those must be the bullies from. I mean, he's right, but like, how did he get there? These must be the specific ones that cut her hair off. Okay, Johnny the sidekick. So they leave the spot. While they're walking past, one of them calls Shannon a slut. Johnny takes her out, gives her his wallet, and tells her to go and wait for him in the car because he forgot something. He goes back and immediately sucker punches one of the guys. What? Guys, you have to understand, he's going off of an assumption. She didn't clarify for him. She doesn't even know that he knows because she doesn't know that he's read her file. He doesn't even know if these are the actual bullies. So we find out that the bullies, a couple of girls, the girls are the with the bullies, and then the guys are like their partners or whatever it is. The person Johnny punched was the partner of the main girl who bullied Shannon. How he came to this, I honestly cannot tell you. Johnny just be doing things. Nobody is more self-confident than Johnny. The girl is begging, wondering, what did we do to you? He says, you guys were the ones bullying Shannon. He could see obviously that, yeah, he was right. The owner of the bar comes out, hey, what's going on? But because Johnny frequents this bar a lot with his friends, and he gives the owner of the bar tickets to rugby competitions and matches, he wants the guy like, if you want me in this establishment, you're going to ban them. And that one is like, hey, I don't want any trouble. Don't worry, dude. Once again, we're shown how Johnny solves every problem with violence. For someone who has grown up in a turbulent household, it's almost like you can see why she'll gravitate to someone like Johnny. Like, cause honestly, you would think she wants peace, but clearly she doesn't. One act of violence would have taken me out. They don't even paint it as violence. They almost make it seem as if it's justified, but like, no, you shouldn't solve all your problems with a fist. Choking, drowning, like, bro, what is going on? You have a problem. So Johnny takes Shannon back home. Father gets into a rage, does what he normally does, and then this time around, he also abuses their mom. Her mom is pregnant with their seventh child. While that is happening, Johnny is out with his friends. He gets some information that his stitches are not healing, and therefore he's been, I think, suspended from club or something. He needs to go to rehab. So he's in a very, very terrible mood. Robbie and maybe violence. That is his personality. He's told not to play, and it's kind of messing with his plan for his career. He's very upset. They go out like for a night drinking. He's feeling sorry for himself, so he goes to drink. He gets to the bar. Why is Bella here again? Like, guys, we cannot get a break. Bella is making out with his teammate. Johnny is so upset, not because he likes Bella, but he's upset because, like, loyalty is his thing. They're teammates, and he feels like his teammate should never have crossed him that way. His name is Cormac. Bella is making out with Cormac in his face. He's getting pissed off. All his friends are being protective and telling him not to mind Bella. Um, Gibsy really, really hates Bella. He doesn't understand why Johnny ever got with that witch in the first place. Johnny knows she's doing this because she wants him to feel jealous and to see like she can have any of his teammates if she wants. Cormac tries to talk to Johnny about Bella. Johnny is like, yeah, the right time to have talked to me about it was before you even started getting with her. I could have respected you if you just told me you liked her. I could have backed her. We were never in a loving relationship. It was just a convenient relationship. So if you told me you liked her, I could have backed off. But now you betrayed my trust. And then Cormac is like, well, I really like her. That's my girlfriend. We're in a relationship now. He's like, cool, 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 cool. But then Johnny warns Cormac like, hey, just so you know, Bella is threatening to make trouble for me and Shannon. If she does, because I cannot hit a girl, I'm going to hit you. Cormac is like, fair, fair. What? Guys, why again are we talking about punching, fighting? What is going on with these raging homos? Like, Johnny stresses me out. Anyways, remember I told you that Shannon's dad assaulting Shannon and her mom. So her mom gets upset, sends him out of the house. It's obvious to us that it doesn't matter how many times her mom sends him out of the house, she'll end up taking him and they'll go back into that weird cycle of abuse again. So he leaves the house. She doesn't feel relieved because she knows this has happened many times. He's coming back. She's going to take him back. After a while, her mom also like packs a bag, leaving them without like communication and then just goes. Typical behavior for her mom. Her mom was either like going to look for her dad and reconcile. So she doesn't really care. Back to Johnny and his friends. So while Johnny was warning Cormac about Bella and everything, his friends had left. They had taken his car keys and then gone. Unfortunately for him, he's not used to drinking, so he's faced like he's gone. He tries to call a cab on his phone, but Stupid Gipsy has changed everybody's name in his contact list to something nasty. So he cannot tell who's who. Unfortunately, there are no cabs, there are no Ubers, there are no lifts. Cause did I mention this is set in 2005? Maybe the workman should have given it away. He goes to a fish and chip shop or something and just waits outside drunk because he cannot go home. Joey and his girlfriend end up speaking. They end up seeing Johnny. Hey, isn't that Johnny Kavanaugh, the player, the one who brought my sister home? They're trying to give him a ride. Joey's girlfriend's car is really tiny. It's a two-door. Johnny has to literally squeeze his drunk self into the car while he's trying to get himself situated. um Next thing they start hearing like a bang on the windshield. Turns out it is stupid Gibbs. Gibson goes, you're stealing my center, you're stealing my center. Joy's like, what? Apparently center is what Johnny plays. So Joy says, hey, do you know who this random person is? He's like, yeah, unfortunately that's my friend. Please let him in. They take Johnny and Gibbsy to Johnny's house. Turns out Johnny is loaded. He has a massive mansion. Gibson calls it the Kavanaugh Manor. They drop them off and go back home. Shannon's mom doesn't come back home. This is over the weekend now. They're wondering, typically, her mom is the one that does the shopping for the house, that takes care of the kids on the weekends and everything. And her not being at home, there's no grocery. They don't know when she's going to come back. And how are they going to survive until then? Joey has a job, but then he doesn't get paid like until a couple of days from then. Fortunately for them, Joey has this really, really sweet girlfriend who offers to help. But Joey says no, he doesn't want her to help. She's like, nah, I'm happy to help. Let me. So she goes shopping for the house. By the time they wake up, like the next day, his girlfriend has also taken the little kids, like the three little boys, to like for a picnic. So it ends up just being like Joey and Shannon in the house. It turns out that it's Shannon's birthday. It's so sad because it's her birthday, but nobody even remembers. Only Joey and his girlfriend. Her mom is nowhere to be found. Anyway, it's her birthday, and since his girlfriend left some money for them to have lunch, so they decided to go out to have lunch. On their way to have lunch, they start hearing a ringing sound. Johnny forgot his phone in the car. Of course, we needed something to bring Shannon to his house. Gibbsy was the one calling on Johnny's phone to find out where his phone was. They asked if they could bring the phone to the house. Joey is like, what are you gonna give me if I bring it? Gibbs is like, I'll cook for you. He's like, you know what, deal. So they end up going to Johnny's house despite Shannon's anxiety, and Shannon is shaking like a leaf. She's like, how about we just actually go and get the breakfast we were already going to get? He's like, it's breakfast from Gibbsy. That's what I want. It didn't even make any sense. Anyway, so they end up going to Johnny's house. Joey leaves her in the car and goes in to have breakfast. That Gibbsy cannot cook, by the way. While Shannon is in the car, Johnny's mom's two unruly dogs come out. She's an animal whisperer. So she comes out, plays with the dogs. The dogs are filthy, by the way. So they end up making her filthy as well. Johnny comes out and sees them all over her on the floor. Johnny comes in, swoops her up, and gets her into the house against, I'm not against her wishes, but what's the point of her sitting in the car? So she goes in, sees that Joey has already made friends with everybody. He's already calling Gibbsy Gibbs, calling Johnny like calves, well settled and comfortable in this house. He takes a whiff of Shannon and he's like, you stink, you need to have your bath. They literally beg her because she's so, apparently she's smelling so bad. Their eyes are watering. She cannot imagine having her bath in Johnny's shower. How do we go from we don't really speak in school to literally being naked in your shower? But they beg her. So she showers. While she's showering, Joey ends up getting a call about their mom and their dad. Turns out that unfortunately her mom lost the pregnancy, and somehow her dad ended up being in the hospital with her mom. Her mom had been discharged finally and she was coming home with her dad. But Joey, knowing that this was like information he didn't want Shannon to know about too soon, he wanted to suss out what the situation was. He kind of gives Johnny an overview of what happened and to tell Shannon when she wakes up that their dad is back, and her mom had gone through a miscarriage and they were on their way home. So Joey leaves. Johnny tells Shannon, and she's having conflicting emotions because she's relieved, but then she also feels guilty about being relieved. She's happy that another child will not be brought into this very unfortunate situation and circumstance. But on the other hand, she's also sad that her mom had to go through this by herself. She's sad that she thought her mom was with her dad and not going through this really traumatic thing. She feels a mixture of guilt and relief, and the relief makes her feel guilty as well. It's really a complicated situation. All this while, Johnny has been seeing consistently like bruises on her. He's been asking her, what's happening? Somebody is hurting you. Tell me, who is this person? I'll deal with this person. But of course, she can't say because she's worried about going into foster care. And she's also worried about her family being split up. So she really is not saying anything to anybody. She's lying to him because lying, comes easy to her because she's had to lie so much over the years about all the bruises that she's had on her body. So she just keeps lying to him. But he can tell. He can tell that something is happening that she's not talking about. And he's getting obsessed with finding out, as usual, because Kavanaugh is a very obsessive person. He had asked Joey when Joey was at his place earlier. Joey said maybe if you earn her trust, she'll feel comfortable telling you, but it's not my place to say. So he doesn't tell him. And Johnny is going out of his mind. He wants to save her so bad. She starts crying, and Johnny doesn't want her to leave because he knows something bad is happening, but he doesn't know it's her family. He doesn't know why, but he feels this really bad feeling and he doesn't want her to go. But she's not your property. She's not a property to begin with. So he obviously had to let her go. So Joy comes back and then takes her home. Shannon goes back home and her dad blames her for the miscarriage, saying how her mom is having to pick up to be able to pay for her schooling at Tommen. Meanwhile, he was the one who beat her. Like, bro, her dad is irritating, very upsetting guy. He makes it about Shannon and how he's definitely not the one responsible. Shannon obviously feels guilty. Then he beats Shannon again. Like, oh my goodness gracious. Her father is literally the worst. Anyway, she's avoiding Johnny again. And because she's avoiding him, she ends up going to stand under the rain, even though her boss doesn't come like anytime soon. Of course, Johnny sees this ridiculous babe and he's like, can you stop this nonsense, please? And enter into my car. Before this, right? Johnny realized that he likes liking her too much and asks Gibson to help him not get too involved with her. She's taking too much real estate in my mind. Can you intervene if you see it progressing too fast? Gibson tells him you're basically a bulldozer. Whenever you want something, you would literally bulldoze to get your result. How about you be her friend? That's a very good idea. So he's like, okay, cool, I'll be her friend. So back to Shannon going to stand under the rain because she doesn't want to talk to Johnny. Johnny sees her and he's like, let's go into the car. But it turns out that his mom is in town and his car is in the shop because he's being serviced. So his mom came to pick him up. She's in the car with his mom. And his mom is like, I've seen the newspaper where both of you were all hugged up and everything. Wink, wink. Is there anything going on? And how did you guys meet? Shannon says they're just friends. Shannon being our awkward queen, she says, yeah, I met Johnny when he knocks me up. Johnny's mom is like, what? He knocked me up with his balls. He didn't mean to do it. I ended up going to the hospital. What? He's been very nice about it. And his mom is like, I would hope so. Shannon realizes that she's clearly not stringing the words in the right way. So she's like, oh, he knocks me out, not up. His mom is like, wait, can you say this story again? Because what is going on? So she goes, he knocked me out. His mom is, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I'm going to call your parents. Do we need to pay for something? I'm really sorry. And then Shannon is like, oh, no, 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 please do not call my parents. They're fine. We're good. Johnny comes back into the car. You can tell his mom is metted. She likes Shannon and she wants them to get together. His mom cooks up this weird story that has them going back to Johnny's house again instead of dropping Shannon off at her house. They get to his house. Remember, she was in the rain, she's wet, she's shaking. His mom, she needs a hot shower so she doesn't catch a chill. Why is everybody trying to get this babe to shower in my bathroom? Eventually, Shannon goes into the shower. This leads to a very funny interaction between Johnny and his mom. She makes Johnny promise that he will take care of Shannon because she can see there's some sadness in her eyes and in her life. Johnny is still adamant. He's like, nothing is happening. His mom is like, even if nothing is happening, please take care of her. So he goes back to his room. She's done having her bath. He sees more bruises on her. He asks her, who is hurting you? Are they at school? He already knows she's been bullied before. She keeps like giving him life. She fell. He obviously doesn't believe because he knows someone is hurting her, but he has no proof. But while they're doing all of this, Shannon kisses him. Are you shocked? I'm shocked. Literally from nowhere. He doesn't kiss her back because he doesn't want to start anything with her. He doesn't want to lead her on, even though he keeps leading her on. Like every time he comes to save her, she keeps thinking to herself, why is he saving me? He must like me. But then she kissed him now and he doesn't kiss her. And she is mortified. She's embarrassed to say the least. She cannot even imagine that she just kissed him. And even worse, he didn't kiss her back. We're going to have to cut it here. This video is already too long. I'll be posting the next one very soon where we will end, like wrap it up, and then I'll share my final thoughts on that video. So Thank you guys so much for sticking through to this point. We still have some craziness to go in this story. I'll see you guys in the next video. If you like this video, please like it. Please subscribe to my channel. With love, Shola.